The Justice Department has until noon today to submit to a judge redactions to the affidavit that led to the FBI raid of Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate earlier on this month. The Justice Department has asked a federal judge not to release the affidavit, saying that it could compromise the investigation. So the judge ordered the DOJ to put forward proposed redactions, giving them until today at noon Eastern Time. Our own expert here, Fox's Phil Keating, joins us live from South Florida to bring us the latest on this ongoing case. Phil, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Yeah, good morning and happy to be here. And that noon deadline Eastern Time is now just about 1 hour and 45 minutes away. And typically in cases like this, where a federal magistrate compels the Department of Justice prosecutors to come up with and present something to the court, the prosecutors usually push it all the way to the end, to nearly the last minute, to present what they're going to suggest. And in this case, it's going to Magistrate Bruce Reinhart, and the proposal by the Department of Justice will be how much of the affidavit will be redacted. Will it be massively redacted? Will it be minimally redacted? And how much can be made public and how much should not be made public? As you know, there's an ongoing Department of Justice investigation into former President Donald Trump for how and why all of these 100 boxes, 700 pages of classified, top secret, and privileged documents got from the White House to his private residence, Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. So that's an ongoing investigation, and prosecutors with the DOJ, they don't want to release their case basically before they decide whether or not to indict, file charges. And so there's also the names of investigators involved, and there also could be documents which indicate security systems at Mar-a-Lago. So there's a lot of sensitive material in this, but the one thing that the public wants most to see is what exactly was the probable cause which led the DOJ to appeal to the federal magistrate to then get that search warrant to then go into Mar-a-Lago with about 30 FBI agents and a big box truck to haul out all the boxes of documents 2 weeks and 2 days ago. You may remember it was 2 weeks ago today that Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, surprised most observers by saying, you know what, we're okay with releasing the search warrant and the receipt of documents taken and removed from Mar-a-Lago. But what they want to remain absolutely under seal is the affidavit, because it's basically a how-to as to their case, which again is ongoing. The DOJ has said it didn't really want any of it released. The judge kind of indicated that, you know, this is a historical case, unprecedented to execute a search warrant on a former president's home, and extreme public interest. So in his opinion, he thought at least some of the affidavit should be released, but then over the weekend, it seemed like he did pull back on that a little bit, because in his opinion, nothing should be released that should impact negatively an ongoing investigation. Yesterday in Washington, our own Peter Doocy was able to actually ask directly President Biden whether he had any forewarning that this raid was going to happen, something that the White House has denied for the past 2 weeks. And the president did say on camera he had no idea that FBI agents were going to be executing a search warrant. So the judge in this case, the magistrate Reinhart, he can basically take what the DOJ presents to him, a heavily redacted affidavit, accept it, and then release it, or the magistrate may decide, no, not all of that needs to be redacted. Some of this is not harmful to the investigation, more than you're suggesting, and then release that to the public. But there is also the possibility that the magistrate reads it all and says, you know, all of this should remain under seal. Now, the motion that's got to be filed with the magistrate by noon is going to be under seal, so the public, the media, will not likely know immediately the precise time when that is submitted and received by the court. Perhaps by this afternoon we'll know that it was in fact done. There is something else that's very important here. There is no timeline for the magistrate. He could maybe release a little bit of it today. He could wait days. He could mull it over the weekend. So there's really no time specific on when we in the public could actually get some greater insight into what led the Department of Justice to pursue this search warrant investigation. But we did learn yesterday in an email from the National Archives, which is the entity that takes all public documents from every White House administration and collects it just for historical and the public's posterity to use. They indicated in early 2021, so this is just weeks after President Trump was out of the White House down in Florida and President Biden was in the White House. It was back then they had realized there were a lot of confidential and top secret sensitive documents they wanted. And so this has been going on all the way for about a year and a half now. And that clearly indicates what may have led to the Department of Justice to say enough is enough, we've got to get a search warrant.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on this here, but it's not going to be an immediate process. We're not going to all of a sudden get this affidavit. It could happen later on today, but it's not a quick process, correct?
That is correct. The magistrate's going to have to go over it all, compare the redacted document versus the original affidavit, and then he can take as much time as he wants to decide. That could be days, could be multiple days. We just simply have no idea to guess at this point.
That's right. All right, Fox's Phil Keating, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.